Welcome to episode 287 of Control the Controllables. And we have a young man who made the last 16 at Roland Garros this year in Zach Svajda. And Zach, I mean, what a story. This is one you want to listen to. You know, someone who didn't really play tournaments when he was younger. You know, someone who used a full-size racket age 2. You know, someone who was gone on already to play the greatest male player of all time in Novak Djokovic, second round at the US Open in 2025, and won the first set against him, which actually happened to be a very special match in his life. And he's also played Yannick Sinner, he's played Taylor Fritz. He's only 23 years old, but he's already putting together a fantastic career. He's currently 69 in the world. He's been a career high of 62, but he's growing, he's building, and he's a brilliant guest that you are going to thoroughly enjoy. So I'm going to pass you over to Zach. So Zach Svajda, a big welcome to Control the Controllables. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here.
It's what an absolute pleasure, and I know we've been talking for a while, Zach, but about making this happen. But I was like, I'm not going to get him on until he gets at least the last 16 in a major championship. You know, I thought you've got to really earn the right for Control the Controllables. And as much as I want to hear your story, and we will delve into all of that, I have it on good account that you're an incredibly good 2-year-old. So I want to get into your topspin forehand at age 2, but I have to start with Roland Garros. I have to start with Paris, an incredible tournament, and you obviously a big part of that. Last 16, made a real run. Obviously lost to Cobolli in a very tight match before he went on and made the final. What are your reflections on your Roland Garros this year?
Roland Garros this year was such a special tournament for me and honestly very unexpected just from how much I grew up on the clay, which I never did. I haven't played many clay court matches at all. And I also didn't do too well leading up to Roland Garros. I had one match win, I think, out of 5 tournaments. And so I just try to stay positive, and my team and I were putting in a lot of hard work. And when I played my first round, and I started to feel much better on the clay once I got there. And when I won that, I was like, wow, like, okay, I could like win a match or two on the clay. And then the rest, like, I just started to work my way through, started playing better each day, and it was just so special.
And in terms of, because this tennis player thing around, I have to feel confident. Oh, I'm not feeling the ball. Oh, I don't feel confident. Oh, I'm not so sure. You know, we're very feely. We love the touchy-feely chat, you know. How much
Mhm.
emphasis do you put on that with regards to, or how much emphasis are you able to switch away from, actually, you know what? I don't need to be confident. I just know I have my certain processes that I need to stick to.
Right. When I was younger, I would always think like, okay, I have to win to stay confident, or I need to be feeling the ball well, like a lot of times how I do in practice to really, try to just have a good result. And then now, as my fifth or sixth year now, like on tour, and I've learned like we could all hit the ball well on any day, and we put in so much hard work, like I said, and I know on any given day, if I play well or give it my all, we anyone could win, especially
Yeah.
at our level now. And so I just try to keep that in the back of my head, and that's really what happened in French Open at Roland Garros.
And what about the court surface thing? Because again, I know you're someone who likes to take the ball early. You like to, you know, you have had some good results on grass courts and you know the hard courts. How do you think nowadays maybe we're going away from just traditional clay court tennis? You know, and how much do you think tennis is changing on the back of that?
I definitely think it's changing a lot. I mean, people, as you can see watching, are being so much more aggressive. They're coming in a lot more, and I feel like the court speeds are getting a little faster. And so I told myself, oh, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, especially week one of that heat.
Yeah, with the heat at Roland Garros in Paris, it was so hot the first
Yeah.
week, and my coach said too, like, it's literally playing like a hard court, which was like, it helped me in a way because I grew up on hard court my whole life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I was there as a coach, and but I am a big tennis fan. You know, I love tennis, and in and amongst these Grand Slams, yes, I'm coaching and I'm doing my job, but I am also a tennis enthusiast who's watching these great matches and feeling the event. And I know that when Yannick Sinner lost, I was saying on the podcast beforehand, no disrespect to Yannick Sinner, but I am finding it a bit boring. I'm a little bit sick of him just beating people 3-3 and winning in straight sets, and Yannick's won again, and nobody's testing him. But when he went out, it felt there was a complete shift in just how the tournament was viewed. I think the next round we went on, and I think there was like the next 2 or 3 days, there was 12 out of 18 of the men's matches went to 5 sets. It felt like wherever you were
Mhm.
watching was these 5-set battles. As a player who was in that event, how did that make you feel? What impact did that have on you when you see Yannick Sinner going out the event and you now know there is going to be a first time winner at Roland Garros?
When I found out about that, I think, speak for everyone here in the locker room and all around the players area. It really got quiet for many days, and I felt like we're obviously focused and wanting to win this tournament, but when he was out, like even a few of my friends on tour weren't really speaking to anyone, and we were just so locked in because we know, like, it's a little bit easier now since he's out. Anyone could, it's up for grabbing taking the title. And I just told myself, just take it day by day and try not to even think about getting to the finals, try to take it match by match. But I could definitely feel the tension in the locker room walking or in the players' cafe, just like it's way more like quiet and
Mm-hmm.
focused, and everyone's just surrounded by their team only. But it's definitely, cool to have that experience and to be a part of it too.
Did you believe you could win it?
I did for sure. I didn't think so, honestly. Like when I first arrived there, I was just hoping to really win a few sets and hopefully a match. But then as I started to feel more comfortable, got the first round or two, I knew, like, okay, I'm feeling good, and Yannick's out, or even if he was still in, I always had that believance in me, like I could win against anyone.
I guess you were only a set or two away potentially from the final if you look at what happened to Cobolli, right?
Mhm.
Cobolli, I know. Who did Cobolli play after you? He played.
I believe it was Felix.
So that's right. So he played Felix and then he got the walkover in the semis.
Yeah.
But, you lost a very tight match with Cobolli. Tell us a little bit about that. And how do you feel after losing a tight match like that in a fourth round of a French Open?
After losing that match, it definitely gave me a lot of confidence knowing that I could, like I said, could hang against some of the best players and if not beat them if I'm playing really well. And that match was really special. It was my first time there on center court. And the first set or two, I was a little nervous, wasn't playing at my best and a little bit more passive. And he really took it to me. He has his big forehand, big kick serve. And then I told myself, okay, I gotta be more aggressive and just play like how I normally do, and that's how I got the third set. Then the fourth set could have gone anyways. It was so close. It came down to just a few points in the tiebreak.
And who was physically more ready for the fifth, do you think?
Honestly, I felt pretty good out there, even with the clay, because clay is a little bit more physical. But I felt good, and I was ready for a fifth, definitely.
Okay, if only we needed another 5-set match in that. Now, a slightly more emotional direction. As you know, I'm good friends with Matt, who I'm sure will talk about Matt Hanlon, who's been a big part of your tennis from an early age. But I also
Hmm.
know that the biggest influence of your tennis was your father. And
Hmm.
I was watching Tennis Channel clips the day that you beat Cerundolo, and,
Yeah.
and you very bravely and openly and shared your emotions on that was one year to the day of your father's tragic passing. how's that been? I know he's been an incredible influence, but kind of a year and a bit on. How has that last year been? How have you been able to, I guess, bring the spirit of your dad alive through your tennis, and how much did that mean during Roland Garros to have that run with him watching down on you?
It was actually his birthday the day I
His
won, so that was
birthday,
that
right?
was even just, like, more special. It was crazy, and I was thinking about that too, like, before the tournament, and I was literally mapping out on the dates, like, if
Right. Okay.
I win in round 3 on May 30th, that's his birthday, and, like, I was like,
Wow.
"Wow, it actually came true." But going back to the last year, or honestly 2 years, because he passed away of cancer, and, it was so sad once we found out, and at first, like, I didn't wanna play tennis anymore. I just wanted to take care of him where I grew up back home in San Diego, and he wanted me to go out there and play, and he started with me when I was 2 years old, and that's what made him happy when he could stay in bed and just watch me on TV at any tournament, and so I try to take that with me, and even still, and knowing that he's watching, and it was actually last year after US Open when I lost to Djokovic in the second round. That was his last match and tournament he ever saw before his passing. And that was really it was so sad, but so special. We got to, out of all the matches, see that one at
Wow.
US Open play in front of Novak.
And what were his last messages in your regard to your tennis? Because sometimes I'm a dad, my son plays
Mhm.
tennis. I'm a part of his tennis. I'm not the coach per se. But when you have these special bonds, in a sport like ours, what are you playing for now? What are those things that he taught you, that and the last couple of things that he's really wanted you to take now into your tennis, that will inspire you throughout the rest of your career?
Mhm. He's taught me so much. Like, he started with me when I was 2 years old, and I know he just wants me happy on court, and he always told me, like, "If I'm not happy, don't if I'm not doing well mentally, don't go to that practice," or, I need to be fully locked in as much as I can in that practice or in the match, and now I always just take that with me, and we put in so much work together at a young age and all the way through, so far, like, my career, and I always just think of him now in the back of my head when I'm playing, and one of the main reasons why I play now is to play for him, and I think that's honestly why I've had a good, year so far this year, and just keeping that in the back of my head, like, obviously, I wanna do well, like, for myself, but I think about him every single moment, every second, and it just helps me in the back of my head.
The late great Jim Lure, who I don't know if you have come across Jim or his work as a sports psychologist, but Jim worked with many tennis players over the years, and unfortunately we lost him a couple of months ago. But I was fortunate enough to have him on the podcast, and he spoke about what he called the hidden scorecard, which
Mhm.
which is a purpose bigger than tennis, in terms of for athletes having this. The athletes he'd worked with, when they had this hidden scorecard that nobody else really knew about or needed to know about, it really drove them on to achieving so many great things, rather than just being locked into, I want to win this tournament to win this tournament, or to improve my ranking, or whatever it might be. And it's incredibly special that you've got that. And certainly from me, even though we don't know each other, but through Matt, I've certainly been kind of cheering you on through that hidden scorecard as well over the last few months as well. So thank you for sharing, Zach. But in terms of taking you back to age two, which is not that long ago because you're not that old. I did speak to Matt over the last few days, and Matt talked to me about how he was walking past the park and you were playing with your dad, and he just stopped and was like, "What is going on with what?" This kid was just like cleaning the ball, age two, like time and time and time again. and
I wish I
also
could remember that.
yeah, well, we all, that's a feeling I wish I
Yeah.
could ever have had. But almost the more impressive thing that he said was it's very rare that you see a 2 year old that has that level of focus, in terms of just being able to do that. So take us back to that time, maybe not back to what you were thinking then, because that's asking too much, but take us back to that childhood, tennis becoming this amazing sport that's in your life and is doing so much for your life now as well. Take us back to what, 2004, I
Mhm.
guess it would be.
Yeah, I'll try to remember as much as I can. But I do remember starting off actually in the living room with like pans from the kitchen, and my dad would make me like volley against him with like balloons, like really light balloons. And I guess my hand-eye coordination. I mean, we worked on it a lot in the living room, so I guess it got all right. And then he took me out on court when I was age 2, which I don't really remember that, but I know from what people said, like I've always had a full-size racket, which I don't know how I've had that because it was like dragging on the ground. I don't know how like
So
I could
full
actually
size
hit the
racket at
ball.
2.
That's what my dad always said. We have to ask Matt on that.
He did say the racket was dragging, actually. He did say that.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
but as far as I can remember, I never used a smaller size racket. My dad always wanted with me with the full size, just a smaller like grip size. But
yeah.
yeah, so he started with me and we were just playing mini tennis a lot. And then that's when Matt, like you said, came into my life and I guess saw me play and asked like I want to coach Zach and like in front of my dad. And I think my dad was like why Matt? He's only 2 years old. But Matt was like, I see something here, like something different. And I guess I don't remember, but I obviously we took him on that. I'm like, okay, let's have Matt be a part of the team. I guess when I'm 2, 3 years old, which is crazy.
and then, because again, imagine, I don't know, because I've heard it, but full size racket, never used mini tennis balls,
Mhm,
just kind of went through this almost development as if you were almost a pro player at that young age. And then obviously we'll get into the competitions as well, but didn't play a whole load of competitions either.
mhm,
Tell me about that, and I guess, I suppose, tell me about what happened in those development years, and then I'll ask a couple more questions, because I'd love to kind of also understand what you were thinking at that time, because I think for kids who are so influenced by other people and peer groups and those type of things, it's very easy to then say, but hold on a minute, they're doing that, why am I doing this, and that type of thing. So give us more of like the reality of what your tennis development was from that age of 2 up till 12, 13, 14.
mhm. Growing up with my um, age and all the way through, I guess Kalamazoo when I was 16, I didn't really play many tournaments at all. I also played baseball growing up until I was like 11, and then I had to decide like, do I choose tennis or baseball? And my dad let me pick. He was like, you could choose baseball, or didn't. He just wants me to be happy. And then I chose tennis because it's an individual sport, a little more fast paced, and I kind of was doing it more as a younger age, and I just fell in love with it. So then when I was like 10 or 11 years old, I never really played many tournaments. I played a couple junior tournaments like in SoCal, and I was always playing up in my division. And then once I got to, I believe, 11 through 15, I took about like 4 years off, 4.5 years off, almost 5 years to not play any tournaments. And that was my dad decision. And he obviously asked me, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this too. And we thought the reason, or my dad thought the reason was that we don't get like burnt out at such a young age. And I really think looking back on that has helped me so much that not playing tournaments like every week and for not really many, just to win a trophy. I feel like the development side was so important, like practicing and just working on the game. We also had a college guy from San Diego live with us for a year and a half once he
Yeah.
graduated, and we said like, you can live with us for free, we'll pay for your food as long as you just practice with Zach and Trevor, my younger brother. And he was like, of course, like I'll take that. And he was so happy. And that really helped me a lot. So yeah, there wasn't really many tournaments at all.
Because this challenges my philosophies to become,
Hmm.
like, and which I like that being challenged. Like I'm telling players that I believe if you don't compete from a younger age, then you don't understand the game. Almost, it's like you
Yeah.
don't. There's no purpose. I found that players then don't understand what the real purpose is, and then it's hard to then go into practice and have that inspiration and content. And okay, I need to work on this because when I play the match, that gets exposed. And
Hmm.
and then I've also had a belief that I think players should have like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 win-loss ratio, because then you get used to winning matches, but your scheduling's not too easy that you're winning all the time, and you get challenged, and you
Yeah.
do these type of things. So you're kind of blowing all my philosophies out the water here. Sitting
Oh
sitting
no.
at 60 in the world, and So do you think that would work for everybody, or do you think it works specifically for you because you had a certain gift and a certain way that you played or a certain setup? Like I feel I need a little bit more here
Hmm.
to understand it.
I think everyone has their different routes, and I don't think this could work for everyone, to be honest. With the route I took, I think it helped us a lot just to we also couldn't afford to travel all around the world and go play ITFs and do that route. And so that was the other reason too why we decided to stay back and just practice and work on the game. Now, obviously, practice is so different. We try to do it at like practice matches and try to have like a tournament situation, but obviously it's so different with practice matches and actual matches. But I think with me not doing the college route as well, like I had time to be home and just work on the game, be surrounded by my family and loved ones. And then once I turned pro when I was 16, then that's when the matches started to slowly creep in with the smaller like pro tournaments. But everyone has different routes, and yeah, it's just a little different route
But
that
how are
I
you so
took.
bloody good though? Like you won Kalamazoo like 3 years early. Kalamazoo, again, for somebody listening might not know, but it's the USA national event basically. The nationals, all the best players in the whole of the US play. So like when you're going in to play Kalamazoo, because another one of my philosophies is, before you go and play a big tournament, play a couple of other tournaments, get some wins under your belt, get some, and you kind of said that a little bit about the grass off air, that you're getting used to the grass. When
Mhm.
you're going in to play those events and you've not played a tournament for 3-4 years, how did you handle the nerves? How did you handle the 30-40s, the 30 alls? You're basically doing a Serena Williams, right? Serena Williams is doing it now. Like how were you able
Right.
to do that at such a young age?
I think like the practice like plays a big play in it when I was playing these practice matches. Like we would also put stuff on the line, like if
Okay.
that's for butts up when I was younger or for money or something or like suicides or sprints. And so like I just try to tell myself like play like how I do in practice. And so when I played my first Kalamazoo, I was nervous for sure. And I actually didn't want to play the tournament. I wanted to play like a smaller future instead. But my dad said like it's a good shot to get into US Open, and I was like, okay, like maybe I'll do it, maybe I not or I won't. And then the last week it came down to they gave me a wild card, the USTA, that automatically got me into Kalamazoo, and I was like, okay, like I'll play, why not? And that's kind of how my career started, and it kind of changed my life. I had to decide too at that tournament once I won it if I go to college and take the prize money or go to college and don't take the prize money or
Yeah.
take the prize money. So it just, a little different.
Because you're massively underplaying this, but you won the tournament. You not only just played it, you won it. Then you got
Hmm.
a wild card into the US Open, age 16.
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy. Yeah. Looking back on that. Wow.
You're pissing a lot of people off here. How easy you're making tennis seem, and
No, it's so hard, the sport. It's true.
It is, but you've already done incredibly well, and I know there's a lot more to go. But I want to just take you back a little bit because I want to nitpick on things like again. We have these opinions in tennis that if you use big rackets, then you're going to get injured. If you don't play with soft balls, this red, orange, green setup, then your technique's you're gonna have dodgy technique, and you're gonna end up playing with bad grips, and then you're gonna get bad injuries, and then you're not gonna be able to learn the game because tennis played on a big court with a bouncy ball too early, you're just surviving and staying in the point. How did your dad and Matt and the great people around you? Do you remember that period of how did a session look? You know, so like age 4, 5, age 6, age 8. What did your sessions look? How technically based were they? How much was it about learning the game? You know, where how were you able to I always use the analogy developing a tennis player is like a 50,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. And it's,
Hmm.
you know, you have to have obviously clarity of what that picture looks like to then be able to then put all of those pieces together. But it's a hell of a job, right? It's a big old job. And, you know, you're taking some of the traditional tools out in the way that did it. So it would be great to understand that a bit more.
Yeah, looking back, obviously it was, I think it's pretty rare having two coaches at 2 years old. So I
Yeah.
give my dad and Matt so much credit just for getting me started. And I remember we did a lot of patterns and hitting. It wasn't so much point play, especially at 5 years old or so. Point play got more when I was older. And I remember with Matt, we would rally a lot cross court. We would work on the angles and a lot of shots. I feel like you practice later on when you're older, once you develop. But I think we kind of flipped it around and we did the harder shots and we worked on that early on. I remember, like, I think there's a video somewhere. I was like 5 years old hitting angles like with Matt back and forth. And I was like, I don't know if like 5 year olds really did that. So I know we did a lot of specifics and also with grip and technique just to make sure like it's smooth for later on in my career.
How would you describe your tennis now?
Now, I would say my game style, like, solid, aggressive. I try to stay aggressive. I do think I'm far from my peak right now, so I have a lot more to work on. But yeah, like solid baseliner, I would say. With my serve, definitely has improved a lot in the last 2 years, for especially for my height. So that's a big thing that's helped with my game.
And was that your game style at 8 and 9 as well? Would you say how much has your game style changed, or would you say that already that was being put in place at a very young age?
I would say that's been put in place, honestly. Like I'm
Yeah,
trying to think when I was 10 years old, looking back on my game, it was the same. I always stayed close to the baseline and try to take time away when I can. And
yeah.
then as you get older and stronger, you'll start to come in more, do the transition part and just build more off of it. But I would say it's pretty similar. There wasn't much of a big change. I wasn't really hitting high and heavy when I was younger. It was always
Yeah.
still just how I play now.
And I love it, and what I love about it is like it's different, right? You know, we hear many stories that are quite the same, and we've got this almost kind of cookie cutter way that a lot of tennis is set out nowadays. Whereas to
Mhm.
see and I have to ask you, there's not just one of you, there's two of you, right? There's
Mhm. Yeah.
you know Trevor, who I know is NCAA number one already, 420 in the world ATP, and was that same system, I guess, used with him as well?
It was, yeah, the exact same system. We both
Wow.
didn't grow up playing any tournaments, especially from that age gap from like 10 to 15. And he was as I got older, who I was practicing with every day with the college people from University of San Diego. But Trevor was my main hitting partner. and we were both homeschooled our whole lives, so we didn't really have like a lot of friends to go hit with, or we were never really in an academy. We had a little clinic when we were younger when we would go to, but it was more just us two, like practicing every single day with my dad on the court.
And how many years younger is he?
He is 3 years younger. Yeah.
So surely that's advantage Trevor getting to hit with
Yeah.
older brother.
I think so for sure. Yeah. And then as we got older, like in our teen years, I would say like the level was always pretty similar. Like it was a both good practice for both of us.
Because that's again what we find in academies or I can't hit with someone 3 years younger than me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's kind of the attitude is you're disproving a lot of myths in tennis because it's like you can't know. I'm not going to ever be a player if I'm practicing with people 3 years younger. I'm playing under 14 tennis now. I need to be playing with 14-year-olds. I'm playing under 16.
hmm
That's very much the attitude. And how's your relationship with Trevor?
Trevor and I are super close. We talk every day. I don't see him as much anymore because he's at SMU,
Yeah.
but I see him occasionally at some tournaments, or I try to go visit him in Texas, or he'll come to LA. But yeah, we're very close, and he's actually playing right now in a tournament. So we talked today, and yeah,
And how good is he?
I think he's very good. I think he has high potential for sure. He kind of plays similar to me, but the scary part is, which in a good way, he's more, I guess, flashy, more aggressive. And so when he's on, I feel like later on the road, like he could be very dangerous.
And mentally, you're similar. You have similar outlook, similar levelness on court, or is he younger brothers sometimes are a bit more? They have a bit more
hmm
going on.
You got it. Yeah, I think he has a little bit more going on, but I will say it's tough matching with me because when I'm on the court, I stay very calm. It was actually like the first time ever at Roland Garros this year. I was actually showing some emotion with like
Yeah,
fist bumps and stuff. Normally, you nobody could tell if I'm winning or losing, but with Trevor, he likes to show that emotion, which I love to see it. It's just harder for me to come naturally. But yeah, he'll definitely show the emotion more, or be more angry at times, or be more positive. It's kind of funny.
and have you worked on that, Zach? Is that an area that you've worked on over the years to be like that, or where does that come from?
I've worked on it for sure, especially with my dad. He always said, like, there's always a point right after, if you lose that point. And I always try to stick that in my head too, like, try to forget about it as quickly as possible and then just move on. Same when in matches, like, you lose almost every week in tennis. Unfortunately, you can't win all of them. And I just try to tell myself there's always going to be another tournament, another point, and just try to get back to it. And so I keep that a lot in my head.
Your dad was a very, very wise man. That's
He
that's
was.
for certain. And what happens the first time you and Trevor play each other on the tour? How would you guys handle that?
I know that's gonna be weird. We've
Would
been
you
close
go at
before.
it? Would you go at it?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, we'll see. If he's playing really well and if I am too, I don't know who would win right now. But um we've been close for sure. But we haven't played each other yet. But it's gonna happen.
Because there was always talk when Serena played Venus that one of them let the other one win, or that was the
hmm
talk. They never really went at it. You never really felt this like, but you two would be able to go at it, fight, and then shake hands and all's done afterwards.
Oh, we'll go at it for sure. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to that day.
I will have my eye on that. And what about doubles? Are we going to see you guys on the doubles court together as well?
For sure, yeah. I don't play much doubles right now. Trevor does a lot because he's in college, so he has to.
Yep.
So I will say he's definitely much, much better at doubles than I am. But yeah, hopefully the opportunity comes around hopefully soon this year. And we played a few on the Challenger Tour, but really not much at all. So I'll definitely be playing with him.
I've just got I always, 'cause my wife edits these podcasts, and she always
Mhm.
says to me, "What should we call this one? What should we call it? What should we call it?" And I'm going to call this one, I think, the Myth Buster. because
Okay.
and another myth that you're kind of busting is average age on ATP, average height on ATP tour is 6'2". You're 5'9".
Mhm.
How have you been able to compete with these guys? How have you been able to, I guess, reframe that? We hear all the time, oh, you can't be a tennis player unless you're a certain height. It's a tall man's sport, all of those things. How are you able to disprove that? How have you been able to kind of get one for the slightly smaller guys?
With me, I think with my movement on court and my ball striking ability, I feel like those two things are really important for my height. And so I've worked on that a lot growing up. And when you're not super tall, you want to try to get back every ball, be the fastest person you can on court. And so that's definitely helped. And I will say the last 2 years, 3 years working my ranking up to where I am now has been the serve.
Yeah.
um, the serve has been a big plus in my game, a big add where I'm actually getting those free points and those aces, not all the time, but it just sets me up for a good +1 shot. And that's definitely helped me a lot the last 2 years.
And what's next for you? I know you mentioned that you're only getting started. There's lots to still improve. What can we expect to see next over the next 6, 12, 18 months from you?
Next with my game, just keep developing and looking to be more aggressive. Like we were talking about, the game I feel like becoming way more powerful and aggressive. People are coming in more, and so just trusting that and focusing on my transition, because there's times where I don't like to get past when people hit it by me when I come in. So I just need to get that out of my head and just trust it and go in.
It feels to me that, and you've mentioned these things, but like the game used to be more tactical, maybe. You used to have these. I have a bit of a theory, or I have an academy in Spain, and I've been in Spain for 16 years, and I've seen it for quite a long time, that almost that traditional Spanish way of playing, which is very tactical, very patterned around the forehand, around getting the forehand high up to the backhand, the serve not being overly dominant, almost a bit of a bit of a point starter. Whereas it feels to me tennis more and more is just about movement and ball strike. People are pulling the trigger from all sorts of places on the court now, and it almost feels like you can't not be aggressive in men's tennis nowadays.
I totally agree with that, and I've learned a lot on tour these last couple years, especially playing the top 5 guys ranking. Like when I played Yannick and Novak and even Fritz at the time when he was top 5, I could see a difference playing those guys compared to a top 20 guy, which that
Yeah,
really isn't far off. But I've noticed, like, if I hit a shorter ball or even a mid-court, like, rally ball, those top 3, 4 guys will take it to you and really get you on the run,
yeah,
and they'll come in compared to and they'll do that all the time compared to obviously someone insanely good, top 20, but they could like sometimes rally it back and it lets you get away with it and restart the point. And so that's one thing I've learned a lot and that I'm still trying to work on. Like any opportunity that I get, I need to take it to the opponent.
very good. That was one of my questions I was going to ask. Who was your toughest ever opponent?
I would probably have to say Novak. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a tough match. That was close. I got the first set,
first set.
but yeah, he upped his level and I got a little nervous and that was a great match though.
Yeah, won the first at 7-6, I believe, and
Yeah,
had the crowd
7-6.
had the crowd going crazy. Is that part of Novak's thing that he almost he almost like, not that he allows it, but just those, it's amazing how when people win those sets against him, how quickly he seems to get ahead in the next set.
Yeah, I knew like when I got that first set, I'm like, this is far from over right now. Like it's great I got the first set, but I need
Yeah.
to stay locked in as much as possible.
And tell us about that experience. I know you talked about the emotional aspect of that with your dad, and
Mhm.
having that, which is an incredible experience to have. But the actual experience of you're playing Novak Djokovic. Whether people like him or they don't like him, he's going to go down statistically as the greatest ever male tennis player. You know, I actually commentated on his match with Fonseca at French Open, and it
Okay.
felt like I was witnessing two very special things. I was witnessing, I believe I was witnessing the growth and almost a new star was being born. Even though we've heard about Fonseca for many years, it's like it felt like that was a
Mhm.
match that will go down as like that was the day he came out as like on the big stage. But it almost also felt like I was watching this greatness maybe playing his last match at Roland Garros, and even
Mhm.
then just like seeing him firsthand how he navigated that match even though he was physically struggling was just mind blowing. How smart he was, how he used time, how he used change of rhythms with in between points and during points, and the aura that he
Mhm.
carries. So how talk me through that day. You're playing in your home slam against Novak Djokovic, second round on Ashe. You know, I'm sure family, friends, lots of people there, you know, the kind of the talk of your world, inner circle world. No one wants to think about anything else but you and that match that day, almost bigger
Mhm.
than a wedding day, right? You know, talk us through how that day was, and then how you maybe felt at the end of it, and how tired you maybe felt after going through such an emotional roller coaster.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the most special days of my life, just playing on Ashe and playing against him, and I've always wanted to play him before he retires. I didn't know when he was gonna when the last match was gonna be, and so when I won my first round in the main draw, I had like 2 days off to prep and prepare, and then the night before, I didn't really sleep well. I was pretty nervous. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm playing Novak on Ashe tomorrow in front of my home slam," and, thankfully, I got a couple hours of sleep, and I felt good waking up, going to the site, and that was my first time playing a match on Ashe too, and so I did my warm-up on the stadium, and I got to have a feel of the court. And I remember just thinking about it like, wow, this is a really big court. I think it's the biggest one we have in tennis. And playing Novak walking out on court, I was pretty nervous from the beginning. Like even just seeing him, it's different. You know, I look at Carlos or Yannick in the locker room. I know how good they are, but when I look at Novak, I just like almost get the chills in a way. Like wow, it's like Novak, but I tried to just, trust my game, believe in myself, and I told myself to from the beginning try to get off to a good start, play my game, don't get too tight and try to be aggressive and thankfully I played well. I got the first set and I remember like in the tiebreak, I looked up and that's when the stadium was completely full. And I have a video on my phone too. I look back on it like a lot and just like wow, like I never thought I'd be playing Novak on Ashe in front of a full stadium, so that was so special, and the whole match was a good level all around. I got pretty nervous, and I started to cramp up a little bit, because of the nerves, and then it kinda went away. It was kinda like a roller coaster match, but, it was a great opportunity, and I'm glad I left all of it out there.
Amazing. And how did you feel afterwards?
Afterwards, I was pretty sore for sure, especially, like, I think with the nerves and the emotions, like, your body takes that on a toll more,
Yeah.
and I had a good time to recover and all, but looking back on it, it was just so special, and just knowing I could compete and get sets off of, you know, who I think like the GOAT, like, one of the greatest players of all time, it's just like a nice feeling, and it gave me a lot of confidence moving forward after that tournament.
Was he your favorite player growing up, Novak?
He was for sure. Also with Roger and also Isner because I spent
Yeah,
some time in Dallas too and working with him. But yeah, Novak now after the match, like we've gotten to know each other and he's a really nice guy, great friend.
yeah. I mean, well, and he's had an okay career.
Yeah, not too bad.
Does he get number 25?
I would never hold it against him. I could see it happening. Like I can't say no, but we'll see.
Yeah, it has to happen quick. It
It
has to happen
does.
soon. But
Yeah,
I actually felt at French Open he was potentially ready. He
hmm,
had that feeling, and people need to watch out at Wimbledon. Actually, I think
for sure. Yeah,
Wimbledon's. I think he's won because I think you, as long as if you get through some matches a little bit easier than he has done in some of the last slams. But it feels to me like if you get a fresh Novak Djokovic to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, I think there's going to be a force behind it. I think it's going to be you better hope you're in the quarterfinals in the other half. Because I think Novak
totally. Yeah.
a fresh Novak at that point. And before we move into our quick fire round, which is our tradition that we do here, Control the Controllables. Your career, I know you're still very early into your career. I think my question is more, what do you want to be remembered for at the end of your career? And it's not to
Hmm.
wish your career away, but when people look back at Zach Svajda's tennis career, what do you want people to say about it?
Just inspire people all around the world and knowing that anything could happen at any given time if you put your heart into it. And no matter the circumstances, how hard life gets, like off the court, like anything is possible.
Very good, and you've been an absolute star. Are you ready for our quick fire round?
Let's do it.
And this can be as quick or as slow as you want, but if you want it to be
Okay.
ultra quick, it can be very quick. What does control the controllables mean to you?
To me, control the controllables mean that I was actually talking about it the other day to my friend. Like, you have to control what you could control only. If it's out of your control, don't let it get to you. And so I always have that in the back of my head as well.
What things are in your control as a tennis player?
And my control as a tennis player is how I prep for my
Yeah,
match and just how I feel on the court, and just let that, I'm playing the ball. I'm not playing anything else. So, yeah,
very good. Roger or Rafa?
I'll have to go Roger.
Carlos or Yannick?
Say Carlos.
Who are the most aesthetically pleasing tennis players in your eyes in male and female tennis?
Right now, I'll have to say Novak, Roger, and Serena.
And who's the funniest player on the tour?
Francis.
Yeah, that's. And should there be a medical timeout or not?
I think so. Yeah.
Net codes or not?
I'll say no.
What college rules?
No.
So you'd prefer to, if it hits the net, you replay the point.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to say, yeah, just keep it how it is for now.
And what's one rule change you would have in tennis?
Probably the season being shorter.
Which end? Both ends? Oh, should it
Maybe
just should have
after
finished after
US
the U.S.
Open.
Open?
Exactly. Yeah.
It feels
Uh,
right, doesn't it?
it does for sure. Yeah. I think after US Open, we should be able to shut it down until Australia.
And our last question we always ask, and you got to think about this because as part of the small print of signing up to come and uncontrol the controllables, you are responsible for this person that you say. And the question is, who should our next guest be on Control the Controllables?
Next guest. Oh, this is a good one. He's a good friend. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Now, I was going to say, when we get a player like you on, we got to unlock some doors here. We got to use your power, your peer power.
Mhm. He's a good friend, and we grew up together. I'm gonna have to say Brandon Nakashima.
I like it. So that means you are now responsible for passing the baton on to Brandon.
Okay, perfect. I
If
will.
but Andy Murray said Daniil Medvedev, and he still hasn't got him on. So
Oh no,
and
yeah.
Andy, if you are listening, come on, get your act together. Uh, Zach, you've been a star. I love following your career. I know it's still relatively early stages, but very excited for what you have to come. I am very grateful you coming on, giving your time, sharing the emotion, the sharing, the story, right? I think it's a fantastic, fascinating story. I love that there's so many ways to skin the cat in tennis. I love that
Mhm.
it's not one of these sports where it's just do that, and that's it. It's like the entrepreneurial way of tennis is what really attracts me to the sport, and a story like yourself and obviously your brother as well, who we might have to get on the podcast at some point so he can tell we can find out how he's got a bit more emotion than you. But big well done. Good luck the next few weeks. And thank you again for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wow, a very powerful episode with Zach, and how brave he is to have those conversations. The hidden scorecard. We talked about it a few weeks ago, Dr. Jim Lowe, as we celebrated his incredible life, and we had our podcast short, our CTC short, about the hidden scorecard, about something that's bigger than just winning and losing the match. What is that? And when players find that in any sport, athletes find that in any sport, that's when they become really dangerous, when they get that real freedom to be able to go and play the game, and play it for something that's bigger than them. And you can just hear it through speaking to Zach, what an incredible dad he had. His dad is absolutely living very close to him, in the back of his mind, all of those words of wisdom, all of those incredible lessons, and all of that love over the years is absolutely coming through loud and clear. And it was really, really special for me to be able to experience that conversation with Zach, and I thank him so much for having that conversation with me. I know I feel very inspired by it. I had goosebumps as he was talking. I'm sure you listening will also have that as well. And how interesting, right? The way that he learned to play the game of tennis, the way that he has gone against all of the myths really of the sport. And like I said during the show, during the conversation, challenged a lot of my beliefs. That doesn't mean now I just change my beliefs at all, And as Zach said himself, everyone is different, and that is the beauty of this incredible sport. There is many ways to do it. It is very personalized. It's also the challenge, because we need to try and personalize it for every single person, when it's just a bit easier, right, to just chuck everyone in the mix a little bit, and that's not quite the way that it does work. And obviously there's financial implications, there's time implications of that, but finding the thing that works for that individual. And not only is there one, there's also two in Trevor, who's now coming up and who is one hell of a player as well. And I think it's an incredible story. I didn't get the privilege of meeting his father, but what a special man, someone who can be very, very proud of his sons, and they're taking that legend and that name and that all of that wisdom forward. A shout out to Matt Hanlon as well. We mentioned Matt. You would have heard us talking about Matt. Matt's a good friend of mine, someone who go back years. Me and my wife Vicky have known Matt for many, many, many years, and a good tennis person, and someone who's doing really good things in Dallas now. Someone who I've got lots of tennis stories with, and I know Matt played a major role with the family over many years. I know he's the godfather to Trevor, and we've had lots of conversations on the boys over the years. And well done to Matt alongside Mr. Svajda as well on the decisions they make and are made to be able to develop the boys the way that they have. Yeah, wishing him all the very best on behalf of us as well. Brandon Nakashima sounds good, doesn't he? That sounds like a great guest. So we'll certainly be speaking to Zach to get that one up and running as well. Do have a few more guests, on in mind. A few guests that I've been speaking to, and it won't be long before we're bringing the Wimbledon episode, where we're well and truly in the grass court season now. The sun wasn't shining, but it now is shining. I'm at Queen's right now, ready to go back to Spain for a few days before coming back for Eastbourne and Wimbledon. Come and say hello to me if you see me at those events, and we look forward to bringing lots through. We will have CTC. Harry, our producer, is going to be at Wimbledon for the 2 weeks as well. So we're going to try and bring Control the Controllables alive throughout Wimbledon. Any ideas you have, let us know, and we'll be trying our best and wishing you all the very best wherever you are in the world. But until next time, I'm Dan Kiernan, and we are Control the Controllables.